Hello everyone, and welcome back to Inside ArtScroll. Today we are joined by two special guests, Shimon and Rubin Kolyakov, the founders of TorahAnytime.com. Thank you, Shimon. Thank you, Rubin, and it's an honor to have you here. And I want to start off by asking you about your tour that you just received of the ArtScroll bindery. You got to see behind the scenes here at ArtScroll headquarters. What's your initial reaction?
First of all, thank you for inviting us over here. It's a tremendous zechut to be here and to see what's going on over here. I'll say what I mentioned to you inside that whole operations. I will never look at an ArtScroll book the same way again. I was blown away with everything that's involved, every detail, and the whole process. It was just something I've never experienced before. So amazing.
Baruch Hashem, it was such detailed organization. I've really never seen something so meticulous about every small thing, and I didn't realize how much goes into it to make it. And you see it in the bookstore, you're like, an ArtScroll book, Baruch Hashem. But to see it, like Shimon said, you're definitely going to see it differently now.
Now, both of you mentioned when we first met, and we're catching up a little, that people comment to you that what you've done with TorahAnytime.com is kind of doing what ArtScroll did in print. Both of you are doing online. Would you say that that's an accurate depiction of what you've accomplished?
A very common statement that we've gotten for the past 10 years is, you guys are like the next ArtScroll revolution. What they did, like you just said, what they did in print, you guys are doing with video and shiurim. I think that's one of the greatest compliments an organization could get, because ArtScroll is like the leader, and it truly is the right word, the revolution in the Jewish world, and just to be put into that category, it's unbelievable. I don't really have words to describe how. Thank you, Hashem, for giving us such a zechut to be part of this.
Yeah, and again, ArtScroll is a standard. Like, people, right, they know you're on a certain, madrega. Once you hear ArtScroll, if you're involved with ArtScroll or whatever it is for the past decades, really set a standard. And Bezrat Hashem, Siyata D'Shemaya, we were trying to also kind of set a standard in terms of Torah and technology, and it's just been amazing for the past 14 years.
I'd love to get into the details, which we will, the numbers and just the broad reach of Torah Anytime, but tell us, who don't know your background, where you grew up, and growing up, did you ever envision or dream that you would be spearheading such a project, reaching literally hundreds of thousands of people all over the globe?
So we're from the Bukharian community. I immigrated to this country when I was 3 years old from a country called Uzbekistan, from a city called Tashkent. And we didn't know much about Judaism or what it meant to be a Torah Jew. There were some traditions, but nothing more than that. And we both went to public school.
So Rubin was born here?
He was born here, yeah. I'm 6 years older than him. We emigrated in 1979. So we went to public school.
Where was that, in New York?
This is in Queens.
In Queens.
Yeah, PS 201. And I remember in the third grade, there was this incredible organization that still exists today, a Queens JEP, Jewish Education Program, that looked for Jewish kids in public school and pulled them out once a week for 1 hour. It was on Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Wow.
And I remember hearing about this, and somehow they got in touch with my parents, and they told me about it, and I remember being so excited about it, learning about Jewish things. And it turned into a situation where I was looking forward all week for this Jewish education program. It was the greatest hour of my week, I remember. And going over a year of doing this, in December of my fourth grade, they finally convinced my parents to send me to a yeshiva. It was a Kiruv yeshiva called Yeshiva Institute at the time. Now it's called Yeshiva Primary, still run by Rabbi Zalman Deutscher. It's a yeshiva designed for public school kids. And I remember when my parents asked me, my mom asked me, do you want to go? And it was just like, yes, like I was like 10 years old or something. I was like,
what was
yes.
the level of religiosity at home at the time? Did you have no Shabbos, no kashrut, nothing at all?
We didn't know about those things.
Wow.
We knew concept Shabbos,
right.
We knew Shabbat, but what it meant to be Shabbat, Kiddush,
Nothing at all.
And so I went in December of that year. I was in my 4th grade. I was around 10 years old. And I just fell in love and with it. And the next 4 years I was there. Now, even though I was there, I still wasn't really holding anywhere because I was 10 years old, whatever it was. And also some of the things I brought home, my parents didn't really appreciate.
Right.
You know, like this is not how we do things. This, whatever it was. But I got those I went 4 years over there, and they gave me a lot of education.
Planted seeds.
They planted seeds.
Oh, sure.
And then Rabbi Zalman Deutscher was trying to get me into a high school, but I didn't want to hear it for some crazy reason. I decided to go back to public school for high school. And Rabbi Deutscher, God bless him, he tried everything possible. We hung up on him, he knocked on doors, just go to yeshiva, but I made my decision. But something very interesting happened in high school. Those seeds, like my brother just mentioned, that were planted. And at that year was the early 90s, there was a mass immigration of Bukharian Jews coming into the United States. We came in when there was a little bit.
About 13 years before.
13 years before, but mass immigration, 91, 92, 93. And
What was that caused by?
the end of communism.
Okay.
Right.
Right. Once the fall
91,
Iron Curtain,
92.
it was much easier for people to leave. Right.
And in the high school I was in, Forest Hills High School, thousands of these Bukharian kids were there. And we met, and they looked up to me because I was here for so many years, like, oh, an American guy, you know.
And you spoke the language
Yeah,
well.
sure. I knew a little bit of culture,
Right.
whatever it was.
Right.
And I found they knew a lot less than me about the Judaism. I had the concepts because 4 years I went to this Kiruv yeshiva.
Right.
And I found myself doing something interesting without even realizing. I was doing Kiruv with them in Forest Hills High School. Public school.
Wow.
And I myself wasn't really holding anywhere yet.
Right.
So, to make a long story short, there were other people in the community in Forest Hills that were doing Kiruv. And one day I was walking, and someone from the street pulled me and says, would you like to listen to a lecture in the synagogue? It was Beit Gavriel. I don't know if it was Beit Gavriel at the time, but it was that building. And we're giving free pizza. I'm like, free pizza? Okay, I'm in. So I went in there. There was a speaker. It was, I don't know exactly who it was. Maybe it was Rabbi Leibel Lam or Rabbi Mordechai Becher, one of these famous gateway speakers. I went in there, and I was in love with what was said. And they said, would you like to come again next week? I'm like, yeah, for sure. We have Chinese food. Okay, great, for sure now. Long story short, after going to these lectures for all those years, and at the same time interacting with all these immigrants from my community, and kind of mekara with them a little bit, I saw the impact that these lectures over the months was having on me, and the change it was having on me, and what it was doing to the changes of my life. I was actually becoming more observant.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, my brother was the first person that I was working on, because my parents didn't, like I said, didn't appreciate what I was bringing home from yeshiva.
Right.
That's actually why they actually helped push me back to public
How
school.
many siblings were you?
Just as two of us.
Just you two.
So they said, my parents said, we're going to keep Reuben away from yeshiva. We don't want him to this fanatic stuff now. It's a very happy ending, don't worry. Okay. My parents are amazing people, very happy ending. But they're going to keep him away. But they couldn't keep it away, because I knew this is the way of life. I knew this is something right about this, about Judaism. And Baruch Hashem, he was all in. Not a single day in any type of a yeshiva. And it got to the point where in our community, I was already 18, 19, that there was a group of us, these teenagers, that all the parents was working on Shabbat. We wanted to keep Shabbat.
Wow.
So we all got together.
So you graduated public school.
I graduated public school, continued going to these lectures, going to more lectures. It was literally, these lectures were changing my life.
While going to college also.
While going to college.
Right. And it came to the point where we got a group of 10, 15 guys, maybe even more, that we wanted to keep Shabbat. But none of our parents were keeping Shabbat. They were all going to work. So we made our own Shabbat. We got together at one time in this person's house, one person at that person's house. We made what we needed to make. We prepared as much as we can, as much as we knew. We went to the synagogue. We heard the rabbi speak. It was Beit Gavriel was just beginning at the time. There was Kiruv speakers, Rabbi Israel Yitzchakov from the Beit Gavriel Youth Minyan. It was all just the beginning of it all. And it kept going and kept going.
This is what, the late 90s now we're looking
This
at?
is the early 2000s already.
Early 2000s.
Early
already.
2000s.
So
And-
you're about 20, in your mid-20s?
Yeah.
And you were 18, 19 years old?
Early,
so-
yeah, early 20s, late
Oh,
teens.
Okay.
And it came to the point where these shiurim, these lectures of these speakers, the impact was so great that I said, I have to capture this. Hashem just gave me the idea, you have to capture this. So it started with audio lectures, and then it quickly went to video after my parents when I got married at 24, they bought me a camera for the family use. I said, I'm going to use this camera for lectures, little mini DV discs. And I started to record and record. Now I didn't know what to do with these recordings. Internet I wasn't so technical, but I was recording. And it came to the point people used to come up to me, what are you going to do with them? Like, I'm not sure yet, but I just know I have to capture it. So I'm like, while you're thinking about it, do you mind making me a copy? My wife couldn't make it to the lecture, or I want to watch it again. I'm like, okay, great idea. So I got this DVD maker. I put the file onto a DVD, made copies of DVDs, and started giving them out. And often, at least, I don't know, a handful of times, people came up to me, why don't you put it on the internet? He goes, that's a great idea, I don't know how to do it. And Baruch Hashem, God bless my brother Rubin. He's very technical. He was working in Torah College in the technical department. He said, Shimon, you have all these recordings. I've been watching you record for years now.
Can I borrow them, please? I'd like to do something with them. And I kind of like under the covers a little bit, kind of like told him like, can I have that binder of DVDs that you have? Back then there was DVD binders, right? So he gave it to me, and I kind of quickly put it on the computer, quickly put it on the site, and he was kind of like,
What site were you putting it on then?
well, this is a little bit further now, but so I was in Torah College. 2005 I started. And when I got there,
What were you going for? In
no, I
college?
wasn't. I was working there
You were working.
in the IT department, in the computer department.
Okay.
You know, Baruch Hashem, we were taking care of the 25 campuses or so in the tri-state area, and it was a great team over there. And I was actually asking a lot of questions. I had some tech background. Obviously, I worked there, but I was asking some questions about putting content on the internet. How do I embed it? How do I play a video from a site? And all these things. I had a great academic department that helped me out a lot. So then initially, I'm like, okay, let me just call it kolyakov.org, because we didn't really have a name.
Our last name was like a play on words, Kol Yaakov.
Kol Yaakov.
We figured it was very fitting.
Right.
So that was our first website.
It started off as kolyakov.org. Okay, it's our last name. Let's just put it up there. And then it kind of meant the voice of Yaakov, which made a lot of sense also. So this was late 2005. I'm creating the site, super watered down, very primitive looking. It was nothing like a way it's supposed to. But to start off, I guess it's just putting content on the internet. Nothing was streamable. You could just download it, right? And everything was done manually. There was no automated process. I was just running the whole thing. Again, and this was late 2005. And early 2006, it was kind of getting more in the completion mode. Shimon was still recording lectures on his mini DV camera.
Like 5 to 8 lectures a week maybe at
Wow,
the time.
but that's quite a bit, because that's like at least one a day.
It started to pick up a little bit of steam.
So then about February, during my birthday time, there was a new
2007, right?
2006,
2006.
a new hard drive
Camcorder.
camera came out. It was the first actually of its kind, where no more tapes, no more discs. It was a hard drive, I don't know, like 20 gig hard drive or something like that, where you record, and it stores it in there. I'm like, oh, that's so great. That's so much more
Perfect.
convenient, because I don't want to make DVDs. I want to transfer it on the computer, and it was very good. Otherwise, I had to put it, in a DVD, and I would have to wait the real time. Have to wait a whole hour for a shear to be. So then I put something online. Now I remember seeing the other day actually the way it looked like. I'm like, I can't believe it looked like this. And we have like our evolution of like the 6 different looks of how TorahAnytime was over the past 14
Our parents
years.
also got that as a gift for him, that camera.
Oh.
Right.
So they were like the source of the 2 first cameras of TorahAnytime.
Right, so late February, during my birthday time, I kind of hinted to my mom. She gave me the first hard drive ever camera, JVC, right? And I got it, and I launched officially, or unofficially, the site early March of 2006. Now, nobody knew about it. It was still very. And again, I got the content from Shimon. I'm like, Shimon, can I have some of your stuff? I have a nice site, but I need some content.
Was it still called kolyakov.org?
Yes, it was kolyakov.org. It switched to TorahAnytime on Rosh Hashanah of that year, when we'll explain afterwards how we got there, to TorahAnytime.
And you were just uploading random topics. It wasn't organized by speaker or by topic, nothing.
Again, everything was done super manually. So you would have a speaker page, and under that speaker page, you would have lectures.
There may have been more 15, 20 speakers at most.
Right,
At that point, maybe.
Right. So
And all these speeches were at Bet Gavriel, or were they elsewhere as well?
in the Forest Hills
Yeah,
area,
Forest Hills.
most of them in
Local
Bet
area.
Gavriel. Yeah. So Baruch Hashem, because of Shimon, I had some content now. It's something to start off with.
Right.
You don't want to start with 2 lectures. So Baruch Hashem, he gave me the content. I put it up, and March came along. End of March came along, and I'm like, 50 hits? Wow, that's pretty cool. 50 hits to the website. Who's accessing the website? I didn't expect much
You didn't
because
really
How did
think-
people even know about it?
just some
Word of
announcements.
mouth.
I made an
Yeah,
announcement
some
over
announcements.
Shabbat.
Oh, okay.
Guys, if you missed last Wednesday's lecture,
You could go online.
Go on Kolyakov.
Like very few people, so 50 people, and then word of mouth spread. And then in April, you had 250 people. Like, wow, that's a 5 times growth. That's amazing. And then the next month, 500 people, in May. And then 1,000 people. And it just kept growing and growing. Now, I was using $10, $15 a month hosting, because there's not really much there. So, and then summer came along, and Shimon had a computer shop at the time, and all his...
in Queens on Main Street.
Is that what you were doing for a living?
Yeah, I had a computer repair shop,
Computer repairs.
and that's where the back of that store we made at the TorahAnytime headquarters at the time.
Like a little section in the back.
The back of it, yeah.
And then Baruch Hashem, in the summertime, Shimon was more involved with the activities of the website. He was involved primarily with the recording of everything. And it's funny, actually, when I received the camera in late February, I had all of a sudden show up to a lecture with the camera to record, and then Shimon would show up 5 minutes later and says, "Hey, what are you doing here? This is my job," So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't want to step on anyone's toes. But I thought it was funny because I got so excited. I'm like, okay, now it's my time to record, So I guess he was the first recorder, I was the first volunteer, recorder. And I remember he wanted to wait a little bit later. A couple of months later, there was a Sony hard drive camera that came out. He wanted to get that one specifically because he was so makbid on quality and everything. And the one that I had was horrible quality, but it was something at least, But yeah.
I remember standing up in Bet Gavriel and making a very special announcement. Saying, my friends, I want to share some exciting news with you. We just recorded our 100th lecture. Now, Baruch Hashem, laying over 120,000 lectures, but I just vividly remember that, and that was just incredible. But just to keep a long story short, basically, about a year later in 2007, 2008, Hashem sent us a very big gift. I went to Rabbi Olbaum in Queens. Yes, to record with Shiurim, and there was one of the boys there that he was speaking to. I think he was like 20 years old, a teenager or whatever, a young adult. He came up to me afterwards and he says, "Who are you and what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm recording to spread this." His name is Yosef Davis. He was so impressed with what the concept that he says, "I want to work with you guys." He became our volunteer. And Baruch Hashem, he turned into our executive director.
He's still that today,
sure.
right?
Absolutely, yes. It's the 3 of us, Baruch Hashem.
Such an amazing passion.
And over the years, Hashem has sent us Mayor Summers, who became our operational manager, Rachmim Segev, and a few years ago, Chetzky Koftal from Mishkan Yechaska. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a lot of organizations. He saw what we were doing. We saw a little bit of what he was doing with some other multimedia website things, and we joined forces as well. So
also, Moshe Sofer came in around 2007 as well.
Moshe Sofer was very big in our growth, and without all these people and without Siyata Dishmaya, like we get a lot of compliments. You saw we were walking around the office today and people were complimenting us, and it's like so not us. It's nothing to do with us. It's just the fact that we're involved gives hope for anyone to do anything, because what's so special? We all have our job, we all have our thing, but Baruch Hashem, now it just started off as a website, but Baruch Hashem, over the years it became an app, And then it became a phone system. We're getting around 200,000 minutes a day, Baruch Hashem, people dialing in. We don't want to promote the use of internet. We don't want to promote the use of smartphones. And Baruch Hashem, it turned into a newsletter. We have an incredible writer, Ilan Perchik, who writes stories from Shiurim.
Excerpts.
Right, and puts it on our newsletter called the TorahAnytime. And then it turned into, Baruch Hashem, a year and a half ago, one of our latest projects called the Daily Dose. We realized that we have to evolve with the times. And one of the things that is evolving is people's attention span. So we said, you know what, many people may not watch 45 minutes to an hour or half an hour share.
Sure.
But you know what? They could do 2 minutes maybe. So he says, what can we do for 2 minutes? So Baruch Hashem, we have so much content. We have the greatest speakers in the world on TorahAnytime. We have all these relationships with them. So we go through Shiurim. We pick out the most powerful, life-changing 2-3 minutes that have a complete message, a complete takeaway. We add very emotional music to it by our music director, Yisrael Ament. God bless him. Hashem sends us the most amazing people. We add words in the end, which is the message of the thing. And Baruch Hashem, Bli Ein Hara, over 30,000 people, or close to 30,000 people, are getting it every single day now on WhatsApp. But he says it doesn't have to stop there because we don't promote these technology things. What if someone doesn't have WhatsApp?
Right.
Baruch Hashem, in a few days, we're going to launch on the email, the same daily doses on our email.
The Daily Dose email broadcast.
Yes.
And to sign up to the Daily Dose,
if you're watching this and you're curious, how do I sign up for the Daily Dose? Of course, thank you. You simply take out your smartphone, if you have one. Please don't get a smartphone for this. And just simply save the number on your phone. It's 929-355-4268. Save it as TorahAnytime Daily Dose and message the words, add me. If you don't do all those things, it won't work. So just rewind this video and watch it again if you want to.
And for those who don't have WhatsApp, Baruch Hashem, very, very soon, hopefully within a few days, probably when they're watching this, it's already released, God willing. For those who don't have WhatsApp or those who just getting away from WhatsApp, because there's many people asking us, can we get it through email? Because the only reason I have WhatsApp is because of the Daily Dose, and I want to get away, and Baruch Hashem, now we have a solution for them. And you have those who have a group of 100 people sometimes who are getting it and who don't have, so they send it through email. So now we're coming out, Baruch Hashem, with a Daily Dose email broadcast. And to get on that broadcast, you just have to email dailydoseemail@TorahAnytime.com, dailydoseemail@TorahAnytime.com, with your first name, last name, and email address. And God willing, we'll give you the Daily Dose or email. It's the preferred method is through WhatsApp. Again, those who don't want to get WhatsApp or those who don't have WhatsApp, anybody, friends and family members that don't have WhatsApp, email is universal. It's worldwide. Been having it for decades now. So just email, dailydoseemail@TorahAnytime.com. Bezat Hashem will put you on.
The daily doses are literally life-changing. And how do we know that? I mean, we're very biased, obviously, when we're making them, but the feedback we're getting, it doesn't end. They send us voice notes while they're crying, telling us how that's exactly what they needed to hear right now. They're going through something, and Hashem sent them the perfect message.
Now, who goes through the shiurim and the lectures to find that sound bite or those 2-3 minutes of a powerful message?
It's a great question. We're very, very picky, in terms of what we use as a daily dose.
Specifically Daily Dose.
So
Right.
do you actually sit and watch the lectures, or it's a group
it happens
effort?
to be majority of I do
Mostly
it.
Shimon does about 95%.
He does some as well, but we're very meticulous.
So I
about
imagine it's very time consuming.
I've learned how to listen to lectures at double speed.
Right.
And
you're obviously looking for something, right?
Yes, and it's so hard to describe what a daily dose is. It's like one of those things that you're listening, and this like the light bulb just comes off. That's a daily dose.
Right.
Sometimes I have questions, and I can just consult with him to decide which way to go with it. Because then we have things that don't make it as a daily dose, but are still amazing. We use them as something called TorahAnytime clips. They're like, I don't want to say like leftovers because they're amazing also. But
they didn't fit the genre of the
right.
daily
It just
dose.
it was just missing something to make it that daily dose.
And we put those clips on TorahAnytime.
Right.
That can be viewed.
And Baruch Hashem, we're up to around 620 now. Baruch
Daily
Hashem.
doses.
Daily doses. 620 daily doses.
So it's every day of the week other than Shabbos, obviously,
Even
right?
Motzei Shabbos.
Motzei Shabbos
Yeah,
also.
Motzei Shabbos.
Twice on Thursday.
And twice on Thursday because we have something called the Erev Shabbat double dose.
Right.
It's double the time, which usually means 5 to 8 minutes, and double the impact. Usually those people look forward to all week. They can't wait for the double dose because it's usually. And it's just such a zechut to be involved with all these amazing Talmidei Chachamim,
Absolutely.
these speakers. I can't believe I know these speakers. These are like people that literally save people's lives. They give people, what's the purpose we're all here? To grow, to get connected to Hashem, to have impact. And these are the rabbis, these speakers who do that. And for us to be part of that chain, Hashem, thank you.
I'm taken by the irony that your inspiration to the path of Yiddishkeit was triggered by speeches.
Right.
And now you're the conduit bringing these very type of speeches to the masses. I mean, that's an amazing coming full circle.
Not only are we the president, but we're also clients. Right? So
Now, getting back, kolyakov.com or .org,
.org, right.
transitions into Torah Anytime. How did that happen, and where did the name come from?
This was about a month or two before Rosh Hashanah of
Back in
2006.
2007,
Right,
2006,
2006, right? And then Shimon came fully on board on the website aspect of it, because he was on the recording aspect of it, so he transitioned a little bit more on the website aspect of it. And Shimon, he's just site after site after site checking out.
We realized that if we were growing, and this might become something bigger than we ever imagined. So we thought we should maybe make a more universal name.
Was there any other site at the time providing video shiurim?
That's actually one of the things that I was looking for when I was making the site. I'm like, is there anybody else I can sort of copy? There was, I think it was 613.org back in the day.
Right.
And they were the only video site that I could find. You had other audio sites like Aish Audio, and you had
Right.
some other audio sites, but there's nothing that I could majorly copy, so that was...
You felt like you were a pioneer, doing something that hadn't been done yet.
When I was Makar of my brother, when I had the zechut to be Makar of my brother, he was so hungry, he wanted more. We have the neshama that we just were very interested. I think in general, like the Bukharian community, a lot of young people, a lot of the Kiruv professionals sometimes focus on that community because they consider it like low-hanging fruit.
Right,
They have
right.
something in them that there's an interest.
Right.
Still trying to figure out
Probably
exactly
a lot of
what.
tradition.
Probably tradition, right? But anyway, he just wanted more. I was teaching him as much as I could, and and he was already doing everything without a single day in any yeshiva. And he's like, I want more. So he was looking, and that's that was another inspiration.
Catalyst, right?
So as the site was growing, you were growing. That's really what it
I
was.
tell people a secret. We really made TorahAnytime for ourselves. We just let the world use it.
You shared it with us.
We just
Well,
let
we
the
thank you for sharing it with us, because you're changing our lives as well. So that's incredible.
So as I
But
mentioned-
again, the name.
Oh, the name, yes,
Oh, right,
the name.
right. We were actually looking for all types of names. I don't remember all of them right now, but they were all taken. This is taken, this is taken. So I think pick number 10 or 11, I forgot. I figured, how about TorahAnytime? So we put it in. I'm like, Rubin, it's available. Get it. I'm like, get it,
So you
get it.
bought the domain name,
Yeah, TorahAnytime.
and then you just switched the name on the site?
Yeah, I mean, both
worked
went to it.
for a
Oh,
while.
both worked for a
because
while.
people knew Kolyakov, so we can't just disconnect it.
It's
but-
right now, actually, it's still forwards.
Oh, still forwards to TorahAnytime.
Oh, it does?
That's pretty cool.
Oh, see, that's good to know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Fun fact.
And then when was the next step where it really just exploded to where you brought in the number of speakers and the style of the site where it's very easy to find, various
So once
speakers?
Shimon came on as part of being part of like the website and just filling up content, it just went to a whole new level. Like I guess I wasn't so much of a people person talking. I was more on the tech side, behind the scenes type of
Right.
things. Once he came on, it just exploded with speakers, and obviously the more speakers you have and the more announcements that are given and the more marketing you do, right, on the shoestring budget, obviously the more it's going to be used. So I would say the first explosion was when Shimon came fully on the website side of things and just blew it up. And obviously he got Yosef Davis as the volunteer, and then Moshe Sofer. I want to record this guy, I want to record that guy. And
So were you seeking out the speakers, or were the speakers seeking
What
you
happened-
out?
in the beginning, when we were not so popular, when I used to go to a speaker and they used to see us with a camera, I'm like, who are you? Why are you recording me?
They were paranoid, kind
They
of
were like, TorahAnytime,
It's a new
like, TorahAny
concept.
who? TorahAny what? Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
It wasn't so simple. They're like, do I know you? Do I trust you? Where are you going to put this?
Right.
And it was a little bit of a convincing situation. So we used to chase after speakers, and not always they agree because they didn't know who we were. But over time, we just keep going at it, and no matter what, because we were on a mission. We were obsessed with spreading Torah. and I don't know any other way to say it. So
and then the speakers would contact Shimon and say, this person saw my share, that person called me, they said they saw my share, like what's going on? They had no idea what they were getting themselves into.
Right. But now, fast forward, 14 years, from us chasing speakers and convincing them to be on TorahAnytime, now it's become like a problem, like a good problem. Like
now let's
over
break it down.
950 speakers.
You have
trying
950
to get on. No,
trying to get on. You have 600 speakers?
Over 1,000.
Over 1,000.
And regular speakers. Now we're recording about 500-600 shurim a week.
Now you eventually shut it down, right? Meaning you're not accepting
Onboarding?
new. Am I right about that?
Officially, at this point, we're not taking on new speakers. We do make exceptions.
Okay.
We found that one of the big challenges is that there's a very famous 80-20 rule of life. 80% of the viewers, of the people using, are watching 20% of the speakers.
Got it.
So we're not YouTube. We're not just everyone under the sun is going up, or every corner, or every rabbi at every corner shul. We want to make sure that if we're going to get someone on, it's going to be someone that's really going to create an impact.
So do you get flack for either diluting it too much by letting, so to speak, everyone on there at one time? And then within the same platform, you have Gedolei Adar giving shiurim and very fine Tyre Yidden, but we would call regular people. You ever get flack for that? Like you're kind of diluting it and it loses its, you're diluting the standard at all?
We're getting on now about 3-4 new speakers a month, maybe.
Okay.
There was a time it was much more. There's some people who are grandfathered in from the time where we were trying to get more speakers that maybe we necessarily wouldn't have taken. I don't know, but because we can't, once you get someone on, we have a relationship with them.
Sure.
No, again, we're trying to be a little bit picky about it. We're trying to make sure it's someone that has, we consider ourselves like scouts.
Sure.
We want to, we see, there's certain speakers that were really not so popular, but Baruch Hashem, we saw something in them.
Kind of have an eye for talent.
Whatever it is just, so we said, this person, there's something here. Even though they're not known, but I feel like this is something that the mass population could
So I'm curious about that because I've analyzed speakers, public speaking. What do you think makes someone good? Is it the content? Is it their demeanor? Is it their delivery? Is it the charisma? Sometimes you could have someone who's too overeager and it's like, calm down. And sometimes someone is not energetic enough. So what do you think?
It's really all of the above.
Okay.
It has to be one of those package deals. It's also someone that when they get on board with us, they're part of the TorahAnytime family. Okay. They become a representative of TorahAnytime, become an ambassador of TorahAnytime. That they're going to go out and let people know their shiurim, their Torah is on TorahAnytime. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the Yetzer Hara tries to come in with a trick. Oh, I can't promote myself. It's gaiva. No, that's a trick. It's you're promoting Hashem's Torah. We have to get it out there. You have to let people know about it. And when I say that to people, sometimes they get a snap out of it. You're right. Do
you ever offer critiques to the Magidei Shir and the speaker? Maybe look at the camera a little more, or get more into it, or be a little more under control. Change the type of language you use.
We've known over the years what works, what gets hits, what's popular, what creates the most impact. That's really all it comes down to. What's creating the most impact? And we give them some, and some people, some speakers love it. I mean, obviously they want to create the most impact. So we definitely do it. Also, the list of criteria that you mentioned, who do we choose, who do we okay with that? We don't want to chas v'shalom, those who, let's say, are on the waiting list or that are not yet on,
it's not really even a waiting list necessarily.
Right. So we're not saying that they don't or they're not good, chas v'shalom. Their Torah might be amazing. Right. It's not the. There's another reason why we can't flood it so much is because we have to think about the end user, the person who's clicking on TorahAnytime.com, and they're looking for a certain speech.
If it's too much, it will defeat the purpose.
It's very
right?
overwhelming.
Overwhelming.
For example, I know there's some sites out there that learn your habits, learn what type of speakers you like, what type of topics you like, how often you come back, the length of classes that you like to watch. So, those algorithm of learning what you like. So we don't have that currently, which means everything is just thrown at you, and it could be a little overwhelming. You might look for a speaker, and you have to scroll down a few seconds or a few minutes before you get there. So God willing, once we evolve, this year and next year, etc., we're going to make the site a lot more smarter, to be able to learn from your learning habits, who you like to access. If you like A, B, and C, you might also like D.
And you'll start making those suggestions?
Exactly.
Almost like on Amazon or something when you buy something and
Right.
it starts suggesting based on your prior purchases, something like that.
Then it
Right.
won't be so much as overwhelming, even though there could be a lot more speakers on the site, because again, everyone has something to say. Everyone has a different angle on things. Who are we to say no or yes, right? So obviously when we say no or yes, we're not thinking about ourselves, we're thinking about the user. How's it going to impact them the most? So right now, if we just throw everything at the wall, like if we had the same mentality that we had in the beginning, we wouldn't have 1,000 speakers on the site probably.
Right.
So that was, we'd probably have a lot less.
Now, as far as vetting the content, this is a question I always wanted to ask. You obviously can't watch every lecture or shiur beginning to end. Are you ever concerned because of that something controversial will seep in or something will get by you that maybe you wouldn't feel comfortable with? Is that a concern at all?
Occasionally, sometimes things fall through the cracks. But generally speaking, when we deal with organizations that we know and trust, whether it's the Aguda, whether it's ArtScroll, or many other, or the Chazak organization,
Sure.
or Nava with Roy Wallerstein,
Torah Masorah.
or so many, Baruch Hashem, Project Inspire, or Aish, whatever it is. We kind of trust their judgment. Of course, things could fall through the cracks, like I said, and sometimes we've had that, and we had to. Baruch Hashem, we have advisors that we go to Rabbanim, different things. Because it's technology and internet, they don't necessarily want to be like mentioned like who they are because it's a big just the whole technology internet thing is a whole
Sure.
thing. But generally speaking, that's what it is. But we have so many users, Baruch Hashem, that when there's like a red flag, we get notified. We get notified to look into it because everyone is watching, and
Sure.
most
People are paying attention.
have the right hashkafa,
Right.
and they see that we do the best we can. But occasionally, sometimes we have to double check something and make proper adjustments. But overall, we try to do the best we can in terms of to make sure it's hashkafically everything is appropriate, which is a little bit of a challenge because you have all types of situations. So we try to find that lowest common denominator.
Sure. Which I wanted to ask you about. I'm sorry, you want to go
No,
ahead?
I'm saying you asked before. It was such a broad spectrum of speaker. You have
Right.
Gedolim, and then you can have the average. So we used to have a slogan, from the baseball cap till the strima. We try
Everyone
to
from the
reach
baseball cap
everybody.
to Shamal, everyone in between.
Right. So it's everybody needs. It's not just learning Torah; it's learning Torah values. So even if somebody who's completely not affiliated, or somebody who's like mamish learning, Daf Yoimi, and he has a chavruta and it's all day kollel, and he's driving from and to the kollel, and he has to listen
We have
to
something for him too.
So we want to make sure that we can't really discount anybody depending on their
Sure.
status. You're right. We do have gedolim on the site, like gedolim, and then we have somebody who's maybe who speaks in a local shul.
Some balabayit even that knows how to give shiurim,
Right.
who's knowledgeable.
Now, we were talking before, I think you told me, an astonishing stat that you had in the last year, 1 million unique users, correct? Is that the number?
This upcoming
This-
year,
this
actually.
year.
This year.
We're about to break.
You're about to break 1 million unique users. That means there are 1 million people,
That at
unique,
some point
and that's
during
based
the year,
actually-
went
sometime
on.
during the year, have logged onto
Right.
your site.
Right.
Obviously, we're talking about a very broad range of Judaism background.
Right.
And that also,
Even Goyim, by the way.
really,
Yeah.
who
Quite a
want to
number
learn
of
more
Goyim.
about,
As a matter of fact, over the years, there's been at least a few dozen of converts because of shiurim that they started to watch on TorahAnytime, which is not what we're looking for, but that's what happened, and that's amazing.
now most of the shiurim and lectures are in English, or
Majority.
majority.
We have about 10,
10
12
languages.
languages or so.
Right. Are you thinking of broadening the other languages? Let's say to reach out to more people in Israel and things of that sort?
If we show you the list of what we want to do,
Ideas.
I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. Hashem just doesn't stop giving the ideas, and in reality, it's just the way good things usually happen. It works in slow motion, and it's so frustrating because that's one of the ideas we want to do, to make a Hebrew or only thing,
Hebrew-only
or
site.
Russian-only thing,
Right.
or Spanish is really taken off on our site. Or
Portuguese. Right.
And I want to bring up also, you spoke about technology before. I think it's important. Baruch Hashem, our community, the Torah community, has paid tremendous attention to awareness regarding technology and making sure that our online experience is consistent with our hashkafas. Tremendous awareness. People are very careful, and somehow Torah Anytime is consistent with that. And I want to ask you, what have you done to allow that? Does the site work with most of the filters that people use? And also talk about the fact that you started, which you alluded to before, a phone line where the entire site is fully accessible through a phone line for those who don't have access online or don't want to have access online. Speak about both of those.
Sure.
So in terms of the filtering, the tech side of it, Baruch Hashem, over the years, usually, I guess what an organization or a company has to do is to call up all the filters individually and say, can you please whitelist us?
Sure.
Baruch Hashem, the users have done that for us already. They've gotten enough complaints, all the filter companies, that they already know us like the back, for years now. And whenever we call them, in case there's like a certain instance where there was a one-off situation, so the only reason that a filter would block us is if the user actually put our domain in the block, in the blacklist, which nobody does obviously. But so the filters already know, even if we use certain content delivery network companies that usually are blocked, the filter companies know that if it's coming from our site, not to block it. You could have some sites that, the less known Torah sites that use the same, let's say, video delivery company. Onto their sites, it might get blocked. And they call us and say, how is your content not blocked? Because we're using the same exact thing. So Baruch Hashem, we built a relationship with the different filter companies without even having to speak with them through our users. And in terms of the phone system, right?
A big thank you to Moshe Sofer. He was very instrumental in getting that phone system running. And we knew it's going to be used.
How complicated was it? Because you had all the material uploaded online, which, by the way, what does it cost? Because you're hosting all your material.
Right.
It's a treasure trove of, you said 120,000
and growing
lectures
by
and growing.
500 a week at least.
Just the cost of hosting it before we got to the phone line.
Right. Well, it's not complicated. You asked how complicated is it? It's more of the cost. We pay for every call.
Oh.
We pay for every moment someone is on it. And as you know, all of our content is free, always was free, and B'ezrat Hashem should always be free, because we're not into anyone paying. If one person less will not watch, then the whole thing is not worth it for money, because this is not about money. This is about bringing people back before Mashiach gets here, which is so soon, hopefully, and through this massive distribution. But there's a massive expense. Because every time a shir is accessed on Torah Anytime, or on the phone system, or on the app, anywhere, we're paying for it. So
it's like when we saw the ArtScroll behind the scenes. If anybody came to this place and saw what goes on behind the scenes, their mouth is closed. There's nothing else to say.
You're paying for every page, every piece of ink, every dot on the top of an eye you're paying for.
Right. So the same thing. I mean, there's, Baruch Hashem, so much that goes on behind the scenes. So much. Don't want to bore with details. But it's the storage, it's the delivery,
it's the web hosting, it's the developers, it's the storage fees that my brother mentioned.
Constantly new features, and features that aren't out at all on any site. We want to be innovators of features to make it so comfortable for the user. Again, we're trying to make it as convenient to learn Torah as Torah Anytime, play this lecture, please. No thoughts, no fingers, no nothing. Anywhere you are.
As uncomplicated as possible.
Anywhere you are.
Right. Now your staff, you have a staff, technical staff, taking care of all different details. You two are involved 24/6 in this.
Even 7.
Probably 7 also.
We spread the word on Shabbos.
And you're probably thinking of ideas.
Sure.
How do you finance such an undertaking and support your families at the same time?
I can't give an answer, because there's no answer that makes sense how we're survived, because it just really in reality doesn't make sense. We're not like very good. We didn't even know that we're going to have to fundraise when we started this. We didn't know of everything that has happened. I think if we knew, I don't know if we would jump into it like this, but there's so much money for technology, because technology doesn't end. It doesn't. There's always constant. Bitbean is the company we work with in Lakewood. You might know them.
Sure, the Arnsteins.
Yes, amazing people.
Fantastic.
They saw our project and They're helping us nonstop, and it's already been 2 years, 2.5 years, and we're at the end of B'ezrat Hashem of redoing the whole site and making it something
Beautiful.
that B'ezrat Hashem, going to be
And
amazing,
the
revolutionary,
mobile app as well.
big time. So we're working day and night with that. But the funding, it's a big zechut for someone to see our project and to step over and say, I want to be your partner. Because every person who gives tzedakah wants to give to what's going to bring the biggest return.
Sure.
It's a smart businessman. You have to be smart with tzedakah as well. So anyone who hops what's going on over here, to be a part of this organization, our budget, by the way, is not extreme. It's 1.5 million a year. And most of it is technology.
I would have thought, if you would have asked me, I would have thought it would more than that.
Right.
With a million users a year.
Yeah.
You have shuls that are 3, 4, 5 million. God bless them.
Right.
But here you have an opportunity. A few guys at 100,000 a year, whatever it is. Like,
As we say, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck.
non-stop, residual.
Yeah, residual.
You wake up in the morning, another few thousands of mitzvot in your bank account.
So I want to mention Rabbi Gladstein, who's one of your top Magidei here,
Absolutely.
was here at ArtScroll for an interview several weeks ago, and he credits both of you with kind of putting him on the map. He was a successful Rav and Magidei beforehand, but the reach, he told me when he woke up in the morning and his shiurim were online, and he would see just overnight 750 people watched the shiur. He was incredulous. He couldn't believe it.
Right.
And then as time has gone on, he's uploaded numerous shiurim every day.
He started once a week, and now
Right.
he has over a dozen a week.
Unbelievable.
Because he understands people are hungry, so he's
People are
providing
hungry.
the content. He's brilliant.
Yeah, so if
Right.
anyone's out there, that Hashem has blessed them with type of money, reach out to us.
Right, right.
It's just,
For sure.
it's a tremendous thing.
There's a lot
It's,
of Torah to
because Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. Learning Torah is equivalent to everything else.
And it's lo'irav, lo lechem, lo yitzom al hamayim, kiyim lishmaya, es dvar Hashem. People want to hear, people want to learn. There's, like you said, there's a huge thirst.
Yes.
I want to tell you also, on the ArtScroll side of things, I don't know that ArtScroll has ever sold more books than now.
Wow.
So people who say that people aren't reading, aren't learning, people want to learn, people want to read, which leads me to my question to you about Corona.
Oh, boy.
The response to Corona to you must have been off the charts because people were home, they couldn't go anywhere, people were locked down, some people are still locked down. What was the traffic on the site like during that period of time?
Rabbi Yossi Ben Shushan, one of our good friends, amazing speaker, the Ben Shushan brothers, God bless them. He made a joke, and I was a little bit nervous of that joke after he made it. We had a live show. He said, I think TorahAnytime started this whole Corona thing because they wanted to get all these users.
The increase in traffic was something that we were not prepared for.
Right.
It was an amazing problem to have. And
Did it cause you technical issues? Did you have to do anything
it
special
did.
to deal with it?
So mid-March was the
Lockdown.
thing, right? And in a 3-month period, before that, there was about between 8,000 to 10,000 people accessing the site a day.
Right.
Okay, just on the website. From the moment of the lockdown, where are you going to go now? You can't access any share. You can't go to any share, right? So everything is online now. So Baruch Hashem, we became a lot closer with a lot of our organizations who are now doing shiurim online. And Baruch Hashem, we were the platform that Hashem, put in place to be able to host everybody. So from 8,000 to 10,000 a day, we were going 30, 40, even 50,000 a day. Wow. Yeah. So you could imagine that we weren't really prepared for that number. Baruch Hashem, we're growing over the years,
There
but
were
we've never
crashes.
seen
There
that.
were so many
were.
crashes behind the scenes.
Right.
And we were putting so many Band-Aids. And that's when we realized that we really have to push our new site out. We can't
site,
just
right. And our mobile
linger like this. We really got to finish it up because look what happened here. And the BitBean was working nonstop to try to fix all the technical issues. All the organizations came to us as the go-to place for virtual lectures now.
So I wanted to ask you about that as well, because at some point, TorahAnytime went from just doing video shiurim to tons of live streaming, whether it's conventions, dinners, events. You started live streaming many events. What was that like? Because that's really a whole separate type of operation where you're doing in real time. You're doing live
It was
shiurim.
the Hillim readings. There was some events where we had 50,000 people at the same time.
So do you have to have someone on site at the event? Do you have a point man that you send out, or is it a representative of the organization? How does that work on the technical side?
So for the past 5, 6 years, live has become more popular because that's just how the world is, towards live. There's so many people watching. I want to be a part of it, right? And obviously, from March, now everything was live. Now everything was just watching online. So there are some places, obviously, the whole Corona thing. We have to have our staff with masks go to the rabbi's house sometimes.
It's a big challenge also. At that time, everyone was so scared and nervous, especially like in March, April.
Right. They would know. They wouldn't let anybody in their house. They were like, TorahAnytime? Oh, okay, you can come in, stay on the corner over there, get the camera rolling. So, Baruch Hashem, the numbers have been huge. They've been astronomical. Nothing that we could even imagine. But in terms of, we had to increase training with people going out. We had to
More
increase
equipment.
our technology to be able to handle all this. To be the site, just the site alone, had to be able to handle that many people on at the same time. It doesn't just work like that. When you're going from page to page, there's so many things happening. Somebody thinks, okay, I'm going from the home page to the speakers page. There's like 30 different links that they're actually going through to go to that one page.
Right.
There's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Speaking of the equipment, when going back years, when someone was approved to be on the roster of speakers, did they provide their own equipment? Did you provide the equipment? Did they get the equipment? How did that process work?
In the beginning, since we were convincing them to get on TorahAnytime, sure, we don't ask them, we took care of everything.
So you bought them the camera,
Yeah.
and you taught them how to use it and record it?
Well, we used to come ourselves to record.
But I'm talking about at a later stage.
Oh, later, obviously, it
Yeah.
came to the point where they began to see the value.
Right.
So they tried to find one of their students to be the volunteer, or some people record themselves. Some people that are really like superstar speakers, we really make sure we want to get their content, so we make it easier for them. We still follow them around, like Rabbi Pesach Kron or Rabbi Shapiro, and some speakers.
They might have some people in their community who would sponsor a camera or a camera kit, which we would send to them, and then we would train somebody to record it properly, because quality is everything. And if you don't have good quality, especially audio quality, audio is more important than video.
Right.
Sure.
Now, on your site, you provide video and audio, as everyone knows.
Yes, everything is
and
on
you've always
audio,
done that.
Video, and everything in video, we have audio version as well.
And you could download the audio also.
Right,
You could download, right.
Now, speaking...
By the way, just about
yeah.
the camera equipment, that's also, if someone understands the power of tzedakah, they want to sponsor 10 camera kits. Each camera kit is about $1,500. We try to use the really good equipment, a good microphone. So that's something else someone could do. Could you imagine? One camera kit, $1,500, indefinitely. You get all the merits for that. It's just unbelievable.
Somebody watches it 10 years from now, you still got it.
Right, in the middle of China, whatever.
Now, one of the unique identities of TorahAnytime is that every shiur opens with one of my favorite people, Rabbi Pesach Kron, and you hear that very recognizable voice. Whose idea was that? When did that happen? And how did you choose Rabbi Kron? I mean, how did you choose? You chose the best.
Right.
But how did that come about?
So initially, we have 2 versions of the website. The one that started in 2006, and we, with the help of Reb Henry Chesky Kauftal, in 2012 we came out with version 2. Bezat Hashem, with Hashem's help, we're going to come out with version 3 very, very soon. Very excited about that. So on the first version of it, we had no database, we had no nothing. We simply uploaded it, and b'chava, there you have your dinner, right? So when version 2 came out, we're like, okay, let's make it a little bit more professional. So we had a database of users now. Oh, we have users that could sign up and they could have following, and they can get. And we're like, let's also have some sort of branding. We had the watermark branding all the time, but we want to have some sort of an intro branding. So what we did was, we thought of an idea. Let's get some top speakers to intro the TorahAnytime, and it happened to be Rabbi Kron was the first one we went to, and we never actually followed through with the other speakers.
He's one of our biggest fans.
Listen.
He always gives us an honorable mention in most of his shiurim, and he loves what we do and how much more popular he became. He was always popular. Can't take that away from him.
Sure.
But how much more popular he became. So he's really good friends with us, and it's just...
That's great. But you agree, it became part of your identity.
Oh, yeah.
And
people recognize the voice now.
Sure. You hear that voice, and it kind of puts you in the mode, right?
They know you're about to experience
something. Something nice.
This is for real. It's about to start.
Right. Now,
that's a great question.
what's the I guess, what's the next step other than, I know you have tons of ideas, but other than the new site, what is the next thing that people could look forward to, something tangible?
Really, with the new site, there's going to be a lot of new things where people can interact and leave their feelings
I was going to ask you
of
about
watching
comments.
those comments and feedback.
Mhm.
Of course, everything's going to get moderated.
Right.
And not only that, we have, like I said, over 120,000 and growing shiurim.
Mhm.
There's gold mines in there that people don't know about because you can get lost in it.
Right.
So we are creating a way that when people are looking for something specific, they'll go to a shiur from 8 years ago or from 12 years ago. And those are even more holier, closer to Har Sinai. So people think, oh, well, the latest stuff. No, just the
Right.
opposite. The old stuff is treasures.
Right.
Right.
So we want to be able to utilize everything. That's another thing.
And not only that, like we said earlier, like the clips and the daily doses, if you don't have a chance to see the full thing, or maybe you just don't know who the speaker is, everyone can watch a 2-minute shiur or a 2-minute clip. So they say, wow, this is an amazing speaker. I never heard of him before. So that's one way to
Kind of like bait to get
Like
people
bait.
in the door.
Right.
Yeah, great you
one.
mentioned that. That's what the daily doses are.
Mm-hmm.
Because I tell new speakers that we get in, like the occasional speakers, that the ones that I feel like will have like something big to come out of it, I tell, listen, I know that you're not so known right now, but I'm just warning you now. You can still back out. I'm warning you now. You can start getting calls for all types of speaking situations, Shabbatons. Give it some time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how it's happened to so many people.
What's the most inspiring story, if there is one, other than your own story, which is just extraordinary? Is there any one or two stories that you've heard from users who have said, and I know I walked around the office with you where everyone's telling you, thank you, I listened to you on the way to work, on the way home, but is there any story or two that you could think of where people's lives have been changed through your work?
It's not only people's lives have been changed, actually people's lives have been saved. Like mamish saved. We get, especially from the Daily Dose, because it's using WhatsApp, which is a communication app.
Easy for people.
It's very easy.
And also
for people
it's going into people's pockets, really.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And we hear and we see dozens and dozens and dozens of feedback, not just people writing great or amazing, they're writing paragraphs and paragraphs of feedback of how it's changing their lives and saving their friends' lives because they were about to do something and then they heard something and they said, what am I doing?
We just
Wow.
got one that this is a person that really enjoyed watching shows, Goy shows, on Netflix, everything else like that. It was a big challenge for them. They knew they shouldn't be, but whatever it is. Long story short, they went into detail, but long story short, they don't do that anymore. And they watch TorahAnytime, and TorahAnytime has saved them. They told us straight out. We know that Bittul Torah is one of the worst things a person could do, just wasting time. When someone could message us or let us know when we go to conventions or Shabbatons, when they tell us things like, I stopped listening to the news, I stopped watching TV or shows or internet or YouTube, I got rid of it because of TorahAnytime, it's literally priceless. What's more important? They got it. It helped me with my relationship with my spouse, with my kids. It helped me become happier because I'm going through, what's bigger than that? And for us to be a part of that, to be that mailman, the delivery,
Sure.
is just. But you know what? Even though so much has been accomplished, we're not satisfied. There's so much more to do. Our motto is we're just getting started.
When you say there's so much more to do you mean as far as the content that you're providing or the number of people you're reaching?
Both. Actually, even more than that. There's so much more to do in terms of distribution.
Right.
There's so much more to do in terms of making it more convenient, making it more accessible. We like to say, some people might not be happy hearing it, but we want to make sure after 120, nobody has any excuses on learning. We're going to be in their faces in every aspect, in the written word, in visually, audible. We're in front of them with them not even knowing about it. We want to make a car, easy access in the car, just talk or just tap.
Old age homes, even we get feedback from prisons, if Jews are there, or other situations. We want to make devices. There's a lot of ideas. I don't want to give everything away. We're working on our underground labs, we're working on things. But there's a lot to do. And and you know what? Everyone, all the Jews in the world, they all have a part of something. We all have a different part of the bigger picture. Some parts are big, like ArtScroll, and some parts could be smaller, but they're all important.
Sure.
You know, whether it's on a community level or a global level, we all have to do something or find that thing to make ourselves have purpose and meaning and joy and to connect to the people, connect to Hashem. We can't be selfish about it. There's really not much time left. Hashem, Mashiach is so close.
Also, very important, Hashem didn't just make Jewish people, Hashem made all people. And there's a such thing as Torah values, the right way for anybody to live, anybody in this world. So Baruch Hashem, not through us specifically going after it,
Right.
but many non-Jews are also finding the value of just improving a way of life.
That's interesting.
It's not just a Gemara or a Talmud or trying to people. It's just the way of life. It makes so much sense. Resting one day a week. Okay, I have to recharge for the following week, or eating a certain type, or acting a certain way, or respecting certain type of people.
Different
You're
midot.
right. You're saying a lot of our values and ideals are universal.
Sure.
So
And there's
there's a
many-
benefit to humanity, not just
Correct.
to those
Right.
who are zeichet to be Jewish.
And that's part of us being a light unto the nations.
Right,
You know,
right.
if these values to get spread out, and they do get spread out all over the place.
Now you're able to track every speaker and every lecture and share how many views and how many listens and things like that. Is there one or two particular shiurim or lectures that you saw was accessed numerous times for whatever reason? Anything come to mind?
Well, there are very popular topics
Mm-hmm.
that people go to. You have dating and marriage. You have Mashiach. Everyone loves to hear about Mashiach, right?
Right.
Everyone wants to hear about afterlife. It's those, more, and depending on the speaker, they would speak about these things. So there are not specific speeches per se, but just certain topics people love to run to. I guess the universal topics that,
Mhm.
again, not only Jewish people, but the whole world might find more value in.
Not just that, also, a lot of the Kiruv lectures, I've gotten over the years, people who are from birth,
Mhm.
they told me that it helped them as well.
Right.
Because we were raised, like I mentioned, not religious, so we're very passionate about it.
Right.
But we could see how in other situations where someone, that's the only way of life that they know, it might not be the same passion, because
Sure.
that's the way their
Right.
life
We
is.
take it for granted, and
It becomes a little bit like someone once said, like robotic Judaism,
Right.
and it's somewhat of a challenge now. Of people, So they say that a lot of this stuff, that the Kiruv stuff, it helps them also recharge
Absolutely.
and their connection,
Absolutely.
and there's more meaning in what they've been doing their whole life.
Sure.
And something that really everybody should know, that TorahAnytime is really a whole way to them growing. Meaning, it's great. All aspects of Judaism, from the beginner to the super advanced, we have something to provide. But we ultimately want to get everyone to the level to keep growing and steiging and learning more. If somebody's learning half an hour a day, and they're safer, and their ArtScroll safer. So now, after hearing a TorahAnytime shir, they got inspired to learn another half an hour.
Sure.
So it's not only about learning on TorahAnytime.
I have people that are learning in Kollel now, and they don't use TorahAnytime at all. But they said that it was those years in the beginning when I really wasn't even firm, that from TorahAnytime it got me started. And nothing makes us happier. When we get a letter from someone, a handwritten note of, I got rid of my internet because of shiurim I watched on TorahAnytime, how ironic is that? We're okay with that. Great, Baruch Hashem.
That's the goal. We want to keep people growing and growing. You can never stay straight. Life is a downward escalator. You have to constantly grow, keep going
Right.
up.
Well, we thank you for bringing meaning
Wow.
to so many people's lives. Thank you for sharing your personal story. I'm inspired by it. I'm sure all our viewers will be as well. Continued Hatzlacha. We're
Amen.
looking for the next higher and higher levels of growth and greatness from Torah
Rabbi
Anytime.
Yitzhak, thank you for this opportunity. It's such a zechut to meet you and to be here. And I feel even more connected to ArtScroll than ever before, even though I have so many Sfarim in my house.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you
to
again.
both of you.
Thank you.